Morning and welcome back to my channel, and today's video is all about exposure bracketing and how you can use that technique to get a really good exposure throughout your image. It doesn't work for everything, but you can have it in your toolbox if you need it. So today I'll give an example of exposure bracketing and when you can use it and when you can't. So generally you want to use it when it's really still wind, because if you're doing a landscape and you've got trees in the way, if they're moving about, then it's not possible. Especially this one here where you've got low light situation and you're going to have a bright, you're going to have the sun coming up, so that's going to cause really intense highlights, but then you're going to got your shadows where your trees and everything else. So you want to get detail throughout the image. And also I'll show you this quick tool I use. It's really handy. It's called Photobills. It's an app, and really handy thing is it tells you exactly where the sun's going to rise, and so you can set up your composition around that. So have a look at this. So if you bring that sun up, it's amazing. So you know exactly where that's going to rise. So now you can set up your composition. So I've set the composition up and it's across the river. I know exactly where the sun's going to come up from the trees, and I will try and get it in one shot, which is the best way to try. But sometimes if you can't do it in one shot, then you can use exposure bracketing, which means you take 3 shots, one underexposed, one exposed and one overexposed, usually a stop apart, and then you can have that detail in the shadows as well as retaining the detail in the highlights and not blowing them out. So that's a technique that you can use, but there's certain conditions that you can only do this. That's when you've got no moving objects and the wind, there's no wind, because if you've got the trees moving about, then it's not going to work so well and you won't get the detail, because you'll get blurry images when you take a longer exposure for the shadows. So this is what we're set up to do, and hopefully when the sun comes up, now I know where it's coming up because of this Photobills, which is really handy, then we'll see what we can get. Always best to try and get in one shot first, but it's always good to know that you've got another technique that you can use if that doesn't work. How do we set up exposure bracketing? Well, we go into the menu button and then we actually come in the exposure, and then we can adjust it and we can set up the 3 shots. So each slash line will indicate at what exposure the shot will take. You're shooting 1 stop under exposed, then exposed, then 1 stop over exposed. You can change it, you can just increase it or decrease it depending on the situation, and usually that's the general rule. So this is a fine example of when to use exposure bracketing, and you want to get all the detail in the sky and all the detail in the shadows. So taking 3 shots at different exposure levels is a really good technique to use, and then just merge the 3 shots together post-process. So I can't wait to get these photos back to see what we can get. Cameras now though do have the facility inbuilt to do the 3 shots all in one and create a HDR image for you, so you don't have to do the 3 separate shots. But I do prefer to do it this way because it gives me more control post-processing, because it might be an instance where I just want to use one of those photos and not merge the photos together. So I have a little bit more choice and leeway how to do it, especially with modern post-processing software, where when you bring up the shadows and you get that grain effect, it has a really good way of getting rid of all that noise. So but I still have the choice to create the HDR image through the 3 shots if I want to. So next thing to do is get to have a coffee, have a little bit of breakfast, get back and bring those photos out into Lightroom and see what we can get. So got back and I've imported the images into Lightroom, so let's have a look to see what we got. So I flagged up all the images I want to develop, and this is one way you can do it that I showed you on site, is holding your hand over the lens and taking a photo, then taking your shots for your exposure bracketing, and then putting your hand back over the lens and taking another shot. That then isolates these images and allows you to then identify these are the 3 images that are taken in sequence. The other way is just checking the images in Lightroom and the date, the time they were taken. If the time was very close together, then you know that these 3 images were taken together in that focus bracketing. So that's one way. Let's choose a series of images and we'll go through the process of photo merging and getting the 3 images merged together. So it's a very simple process. So you highlight the image, 1, 2, 3. So you've got 3 images. You must make sure that these are the only images that are going to be highlighted, because that one was crept in. So let's do that. And then you go into photo merge, HDR, and then it will isolate and then give you a preview of the merged image. Then you just click merge. What that will do is merge the images together and produce a new image of that particular result. But it will give you a stacked photo. So this is the image and it will give you a stacked image. So 4 photos basically stacked together. So let's go into develop and then we can develop this image. And you can see that you've got a little bit less, the highlights have been taken out. So you can see that you've still got some underexposed areas here, which is blue. But I've got a sunrise preset here, so I'm just going to click on that. And this will just highlight that up. And then we'll just go into the basics. So we'll just change, and there's not a lot of change there. So that's really brought that up nicely. So that's merged image in a nutshell. So if we go on to another image, different composition, and bring the 3 images up. So let's have a look at these 3 images here. Always got to make sure that you're only going to do that. So let's do this one, photo merge, HDR, and have a look at this image. So it'll do its business. Okay, that's not too bad. So we'll bring that up there and then wait for that. It's there, so we'll bring that in. That's a beautiful shot. I like that. That's exposure bracketing in a nutshell, and it's one tool that you can use if you feel that you can't get all the detail you want from one shot, from exposing to the right, for instance, a little bit more, pushing the highlights a little bit more without peaking or clipping the edges of the histogram. And then you can use this tool to exposure bracket, and then you've got 3 images of the same scene that you can bind together if you choose to. Sometimes you think, well, okay, let's try and develop the overexposed image of one stop and see what quality I get. And if it comes out just as good, then fine. But at least you've got the option to have 3 images that you can bind together if you need to. So that's the one benefit of knowing how to do exposure bracketing. So if you like this video and you got some value from it, that's fantastic. Hit that subscribe button, press the like button, and also hit the notification bell for future uploads. And if you've got any comments on what you thought of these 2 images that I've just developed, then great. Then put some comments in below. If there's anything further you want to know, then please let me know, and I'll be happy to do another video or reply direct to you and then give you some more hints and tips. So you take care, and I'll see you in the next one.